My good people, welcome yet again into Bonge Kirinyaga. This is your host, Martin Murioki. This is where your voice matters. And of course, I'm here yet again with these brilliant minds from Kirinyaga. We have Mary Jo, we have Joshua, the Savior and Wakili Wakeo. Let's dive into politics. Follow us on Facebook and let's have a conversation. So let's start with the trending topics this previous week, ever since tulikuwa huku Sato. What do you think? Has the president been behaving?
Well, thank you very much. It's been a very interesting week. And I think what you're asking me is the remarks or the statements by the president the other day while on tour of Western region. And I've listened to Kenyans, and I think one thing stands clearly, and that is the statements by the president are quite unfortunate. They are regrettable. The president is actually the symbol of national unity, and the president is also supposed to be a unifying factor in any democracy. So when you have the president rambling and saying the kind of things that President Ruto said, it leaves a lot to be desired. Number two, we also had the president issuing threats to opposition leaders, which is also again very regrettable. When a president stands on a podium and says that he knows that so and so murdered someone in a country that has functional judicial systems and does nothing about it, then such remarks are indicative of a failed state. Because indeed, if the president is a witness to a crime, considering that he has all the machinery, he commands the system, and he makes such remarks to gain political capital or maybe to malign the opponents, then it's quite unfortunate, because Kenyans are left wondering what it is that is going wrong that the president is aware and is not willing to do something about. So the remarks are quite unfortunate, and I think the people surrounding the president should sit him down and tell him to have better composure, to make sure that whatever comes out of his mouth are words that can build and not words that can destroy or divide the people. So yes, I condemn the remarks by the president. I think that was very low of him.
Okay, yep. What do you think of the conduct of the president, bearing in mind that he is the symbol of national unity? What do you think?
I think it's also, I concur with Joshua, it's rather unfortunate, especially since in Kenya we have term limits to people that hold certain offices. So we have to get to a point where we're separating the president as a person and the presidency as an office. And that is why we have a whole chapter in our constitution on how people that are holding some of these offices are supposed to hold themselves. There's a standard. And when we find a president that is speaking the way he's speaking, it's rather unfortunate. And I think this current president has had that problem from the very beginning. And he has made it so easy for people to even call him very funny names that we never even thought of using when addressing the previous presidential office holders. So I think maybe it's time for us to invoke the chapter on our constitution on ethics, because he has publicly exposed himself and displayed himself as somebody without morals. Kutumia matusi kwanza, that was so below the belt. Mimi hata I don't know what he's thinking. Ara behave takare siria gutura gitini kiu gia president. Ara siria takaye gukorwo niwe wa muico, na ndio nendo gitumaga eka kama undu make ogu. Tumitugo tumakona tu ni tumitugo twa mundu areciria rituraga gitini kiu tukwagira giti gia president gitio And as you've said, it's a symbol of national unity. And the day that we will need a president that we respect as a nation, when our nation is going to be in a position where it needs a unifying factor, then the president or the president is not going to be something that we go for. So it's very, very, very unfortunate. I condemn it. And I would ask our politicians, especially those that are holding offices, for example, somebody like His Excellency Dr. Rigathi Gachagua, he's somebody that is also seeking, he says he's a presidential candidate as far as the DCP party is concerned. I think he should also start already behaving as though he were the president. Let these individuals hold themselves to the highest possible regard, because it's not just about our nation. Even the international community is watching. So they are going to cause our nation tukosewe heshima hata na majirani zetu the moment that we've made our president an object of mockery and ridicule. And now this is not even the president, the man Ruto. It's the presidency, the office.
Mary Jo, some people have been saying that the president is only responding to the opposition leaders who keep saying wewe muaji, wewe this, that he is only responding. What are your thoughts towards the conduct of him and other top officials in this?
Well, thank you, Martin. I think the question should not be, can the president respond? The question is, should the presidency react? Because the president has all the right to throw tantrums and all that as a person, but then he cannot separate himself from the presidency. The presidency is an institution by itself. The president is a person. Once you are the president, you are representative. You are the representative of the presidency. Wewe ni wewe unaonekana pale. You are not a representative of your supporters. You represent the whole of the country, whether they support you or not, including the person who provoked the president. Which is bigger? When the president feels bigger than the presidency, then he is not worth sitting on the seat. Hafai. Lilia president yambia kuigua ni munene, kana mafataro make kiumbe mena fata gukira utongoria wa mutongoria wa bururi, ndari na urutha na kana ndari na uigirereki wa gukorwo ikarire gite kiu ikarire. So the conduct of Ruto as a person was an insult to the presidency, to the institution, the presidency. The commander-in-chief, kiria gitumaga ukore jeshi kana the armed forces of this country, thaisi matirumagirira uria matwirwo ni Uhuru. It is because they respect the presidency. Marespondaga to that institution. Agituika ariaragia out of anger, muthenya uria mera shoot kwa miguu, wana shoot kwa miguu. Because the seat he represents, newe koragwo ikiheana the orders. So it is the high time the president decide, or the man Ruto decides, am I going to be the presidency? Am I going to represent the presidency? Kanadero gamerere ta Ruto, but he cannot do both. So wherever he is seated, let it get very clear to him. Achague kuwa Ruto ama the representative of the presidency. Lakini haezi kaa kituchanganya hivyo. Number 2, I was so disappointed. Ate muciari wa Gen Z akirira mwana wakwa ni oragirwo akirutwo demu-ini na kana shutirwo muthenya uria kana mutumia uria mwana wake endagia mask, akirira uria mwana wake oragirwo street-ini na akirutwo aroya microphone, the president akoya microphone akambia kurira na comment about a murder case. So nani anafaa kusaidika? What is he saying? Okay, I would want him to tell me, ama to tell the nation, who is supposed to get justice. If yeye analia na mic akiwa amesimama pale kwa gari, na yeye mama ya yule mtoto aliuliwa na mask akiuza mask, anafaa kufanya nini?
Anajua ni nani alimuua.
If at all he has, I am ashamed that he has thrown his personal interests into this kind of a conversation. Sinidia tutaka stories za jamba. And if the president yali kungangana na Nuru Okanga, so you know that level he went to ni akina Nuru Okanga, I cannot get to his level, by the way. Hiyo level amefika iko chini na mbali sana. But if you want to become a Nuru Okanga, tupatane pale buge ya Nuru Okanga. If he wants to stay in that state house, then he better behaves like it.
Joshua, one term unaona imefika wapi na two term? With do you think that the president is acting irrationally because he's getting panic modes?
Well, nikubaya. And yes, I think part of the reason why the president is angry and bitter is because he knows what is happening on the ground. We keep saying that the president is a consumer of raw data and information and intelligence.
True.
From the government agencies that are tasked to do that. Yeah, so the one-term clarion call is actually a reality. I think President Ruto knows very well that Kenyans don't want him and they are not likely to vote for him next year. And the numbers are there, they speak volumes. Mm-hmm. I mean, let's agree to disagree that his biggest block has left him, which is Mount Kenya. Mount Kenya region gave him 47% of the votes that made him president in 2022. And when we talk of Mount Kenya region, we are talking about, I think, 11 counties. These are the counties of Kiambu, Murang'a, Kirinyaga, Nyeri, Nyandarua, Laikipia, Embu, Meru, Nakuru, and we also have Narok and Lamu in that basket. And these are very many votes. So, jamaa akiangalia hivi anaona hapa kameumana. Where he is trying to see whether he can maybe replace the lost votes from Mount Kenya, which is Nyanza region, the numbers are not adding up. If you look at Nyanza, I think Nyanza region has a cumulative total of about 1.4 million votes, 1.6 thereabout, which is actually less than the combined votes from Kiambu and Meru. So either way, where he's trying to look for alternatives in terms of replacing the lost block, the numbers are still not adding up. And again, that explains why he's been very incessant in visiting Nyanza region, but it's not adding up.
What about Rift Valley?
Well, Rift Valley, which is his bedrock, his bedroom, Rift Valley region is a bit cosmopolitan, because if you look at the constituent counties in Rift Valley, where we have pure Kalenjin ethnic community occupying or living, we have very few counties. These are Bomet, Kericho, Nandi, and I think Elgeyo Marakwet. I'm avoiding mentioning Uasin Gishu because Uasin Gishu is a bit cosmopolitan. So his real bedroom in terms of political strengths, these are the traditional Kalenjin counties. Again, they also don't have numbers. There are very few voters in these counties. So either way, depending on how you look at it, I think with a united opposition or the alternative government, which brings together the Mount Kenya bloc, the Kamba bloc, the Kisii bloc, and largely a very huge chunk of Western region, plus now the swing votes of or swing regions of coast region, I think the goose is cooked. Either way, looking at it from where I sit, unless something happens, Ruto is very much a one-term president, and I think he has less than 16 months in that office. He will go home. Kenyans will take him home. I don't see anything changing that will tilt or maybe disorganize the current arrangements. Either way, Ruto will go home. He's a one-term president and there is very little that he can do about it.
Tutumalize hii wakili. Kindiki na unaona aje juu sasa huyo aliingia kwa kiti na masaibu na zimemwandama. What is his place in all this?
I think one point of concern when I look at His Excellency the Deputy President ni kitu ya kwanza ameshindwa kusolidify numbers even in his own region, and I see somebody who relies a lot on the Cecily Mbarile factor ikifika uko kwake Embu, Meru, that side. But I've also seen a man that has grown into a politician. I'm very impressed, by the way. I think he should maybe go back to the basics and maybe atafute kiti cha ubunge huko kwao, because he's really grown into a politician. He started out being very weak. Did you see his wife? By the way, I will never understand this concept of if I become the deputy president, then my spouse needs to have an office, and that office demands that he is in the public domain, because some of us are not cut out for that. So hiyo pia ni kitu ingine, na unasikia hiyo ofisi yake ya huyo bibi yake Mrs. Kindiki, it has already spent a lot of money. And a lot of money doing what? You know, some of these offices that we create in our constitution inaletianga tu taxpayer burden, but haina any actual impact. So Kindiki pia yeye, but naweza sema I've seen him grow and mature into a politician mwenye siku expect atakuwa hivyo, but sielewi mbona euphoria na hii siasa ya Kenya, because I think even Ruto, that is what he's doing. He's trying to appeal to the masses. Gachagua, sorry for calling him by that name, Dr. Rigathi amekuwa akifanya mikutano na mikutano yake imekuwa na msisimko juu ya matusi ama hiyo kuongea satire, let's call it satire. Wewe Kasongo, wewe nitakupeleka kama baiskeli ya kuiba. So what Ruto is doing in his desperate last minute donkey kicks, the kicks of a dying donkey, he's also trying to create the same euphoria with the people.
So he's panicking.
He's definitely panicking, and he's panicking in his own survival mode, which is a very dangerous president, by the way. Hakuna kitu mbaya kama kukuwa na president mwenye ana feel threatened na ana feel insecure. We really need to be very careful, and I really hope that as much as he's the commander in chief of the armed forces, I would want to see more sobriety kwa watu wenye wana head the various defense agencies, because fikiria how human beings behave when they are desperate. It's actually it's a sensitive situation.
Talking of one term versus two term, yesterday we had actually it's not just yesterday, Juzi we had Millicent Omanga defect to DCP. Yesterday we had Honorable Jeremiah Kioni and Governor Kimemia going to DCP to a courtesy call to Rigathi. What is the impact? What is cooking?
Let me not speculate. Na riu ukimenyaga siasa cia kiria mundu monde marorete 2027 in fact, na ndo niko marajia line tondu kionianga ni warari mundu wa mwiso within the entire Jubilee, let me call it Jubilee, within the entire united opposition. Tiga Matiangi wondia ni athia amesema ni united opposition. No, this Jubilee as a party, they were not very active in the one term movement. Ginyara kinyete bandu andu makanja kuriko kana nike Uhuru mwena uriko na ni uragikigwo ri andu makiri mama ugaga makometerere Uhuru arie. So I don't know kama the history of Kenya is going to allow Jubilee to rise up again, because everybody thinks it's a sleeping giant. No ngirorora siasa ithiaga maita maingi mundu ndatuikaga giant maita eri. Ciama nyingi chance yaku ni imwe ugasaini. After that, allow the other party to shine, and at this point the party that is appearing to shine ni DCP. Ndio kana Jubilee ugu kioniera thire kwa Rigathi nikuga nigukorwo na coalition. We are speculating a coalition, or maybe we are going to see Jubilee as a party being more involved in the one term movement. Tondu warora mweri uyu especially ta wiki ino njoku njiguite Jubilee marabingura wabisi Nyandarua, wabisi ya Nyeri ni rabingurwa, wabisi ya Narok ni rabinguritwo I think a week or two ago, wabisi ya Kirinyaga ni kabingurwa maybe next week. So unaona Jubilee, it is intentionally becoming more active, and with every office there's a launch, and then there's a demand on the ground for Matiangi to be the opposition president's flag bearer. Niko maundu monde no alignment maybe it could be a coalition, or maybe we could see Jubilee Party being more active in the one-term movement. Siao mangana sio ye. Nino ndirari waterere. Nendo ikiratuma tuturege turisaikuraga ma politician. We are saying we are coming up with a new movement, or it's a new awakening, but the same people who've been in these spaces who have not been able to achieve anything, who in my opinion they're not bringing any value. Not on mundu ena kanyamwe ukathii ukathondeka pate yaku ugeta andu ngiri igiri mekira ngobia cia DCP ukamukirwo officially, yet the DCP party leader has been insisting that in his party we are going to see free and fair nomination, but he's already appearing to place certain candidates at a pedestal against other candidates. Honestly, bau wena kanyama
Mirijo wewe ukiodwe wanataka, unajua in different occasions Rigathi Gachagua, Rigiji, His Excellency, has called out Jubilee as a red wheelbarrow, and then yesterday ashoka kila mtu anaongelelea, ameona Kioni wamepigwa picha na Rigiji. What do you think? What is cooking, and what is the implication and the impact of the one term and the two term faction?
Let me say that His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua has always been known of being a very outright person. He doesn't know how to stand in the fence. So it is always normal for him to consider everybody who seems to be sitting on the fence as an opposition. It is either you are right or you are left. Hananga the middle, which is okay, because ona nie diedete andu acio makoragwo maikaraga ta sehemu nyeti, iwezi sema iko pande gani. So I think that is something that is very good about him. And the moving of Kioni came in as a shocker even for me, because I did not expect him to be the first person kuingia kwa gate, bearing in mind also Kioni is a very emotional person in many ways, and very passionate about what he believes in. But also kuona Kioni is the first person to knock the door tells you that he has not left anyone behind, because I was expecting Kioni will be the last person to get into DCP's backyard. So nyonete Kioni amuvete, I know Jubilee yote iko ndani, and I am also very happy about it. Concerning the one term two term movement, mani thiko ici muratwara Ruto ta mufira wa football. He's chasing all over. I was looking at Joshua trying to explain kwenye anajaribu kusolidify, and I'm wondering like, Joshua, why are you being so lenient? That guy is solidifying nothing. He's just rushing. Ona gotheri haria agatengera, ona kage araikara ta araigatithia riri, ndio kana moyo tugunyo twa mwaki takasango, nona tugunyo twa mwaki twakagia kila mahali. Ona gotheri haria agatengera, ona kage haria agatengera, na nikio rona aratuika exhausted to a point of that outburst. So at that point inaniambia nikaiho gacangacangi karia gatiga kwao gugithinjwo, ndari kindu ariinukia ahana hiti iria yataganiirie ria muico ekiahuka maguru. At the speed we are going, I wouldn't be surprised akiuga one term, because at the end of the day he's just human. Ni arikinya handu anoge haria gaikara thi uguo huruke, you don't know at a sound nini. But as Wakili had said, it is a very dangerous position for somebody who has power. Wokinya level the president yakinyete. We should be worried but not scared, because as we said, we can decide to zero him as the president, and the presidency still runs as an institution. Nige, I don't know, but I am almost certain tũngĩhĩtania twĩke kĩndũ ingĩta sobriety levels, kana tũthime ũgũrũki na ũnomo wa president, I am almost certain he would fail, or he would fall in the side ya kuwa hayuko sober at this point. Okay. Akunywe tu bluefen na atuna ubaya. Also, allow me, kwe kindu nyake yauga na ndaigua niguigua ngihia na ujetekerie gwete Kidiki.
Mugwete.
Njagĩa ndaigua uga nĩ arakena nĩ Kidiki ũrĩa arakũra. Na hakiri cia njũria karakũra ta ngwacĩ kana ta mwanga tondũ arakũra agĩikũrũkaga.
Acoke gĩtĩ gĩa seneta kĩa.
You know, badala ya pande juu tuone agĩkũra akĩhaica rĩu agĩkorwo nĩ arakũra no twetereire njũ tumenye kana nĩ mũri kana nĩ edible kana ti edible no nyakĩo that growth was just crazy. You know, Kidiki came in at a very good time. The president could not have impeached the deputy twice. So he was at liberty to become anything.
True.
He did not discern the moment. Angĩaikerire ambie gũkemea maũndũ marĩa moru. Ndakwĩra angĩaninire mĩeri 3. Etĩkĩra kwaria Masha is not working. Etĩkĩra kuga ena komu ena koigo wa nyina ndingĩetĩkĩrire gĩtĩ gĩthiĩ. Na nĩma nĩ gĩkiumire mwena ũrĩa na tinie ndĩmũ impeachire. No money at the systems are not working. To date, by now he would be having that future. Aigere kuona ki atuike truthful man. Etekere tu kwaria ma. But then choices have consequences and wishes aren't horses. Those were just my wishes.
Maybe that's
Do you think he'll be the running mate come 2027? Joshua. Joshua, you brought it up.
Well,
atakuwa maintained hapo kama deputy.
Kwa hiyo swali ngumu kwa sababu si
What are the odds?
Already my sister hapo amesema kwamba hii mahesabu haingiani. Na Ruto hapa nadhani kuna mtu anamwambia kwamba akijaribu kutengana na Mount Kenya game itakuwa imeisha kwa sababu hizo kura nazo ni nyingi. So to whether or not Ruto will retain Kithure Kindiki as his running mate, I think it's a very dicey situation for him, and I don't envy the president at all, because personally if I was president that's a decision I wouldn't want to make. So ukiangalia hapa Mount Kenya they've really tried kuona kama kuna kitu wanaweza pata. Kithure has literally been camping in Mount Kenya East.
But then if we are talking about Mount Kenya, see we have other people. We don't have to stick to Kindiki.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying, of course, the matrix that Ruto is entertaining ni kwamba he thought he could still retain Mount Kenya. I mean Kithure as his running mate, hoping that he will bring a good chunk of Mount Kenya votes. But sisi tukiangalia kwa sababu sisi ni watu wa kusikiza ground, I think Mount Kenya hapa ilienda kitambo. So retaining Kithure Kindiki as his running mate is actually, he will actually be a burden. It will be a very bad move kwa sababu sioni kura zenye Kithure ataletea Ruto. I mean we talked to our neighbors in Embu, in Tharaka Nithi, and I think those people moved away from Ruto kitambo together with the Mount Kenya, because what Ruto forgets is that the issue of Mount Kenya votes is not dependent on who he picks as a running mate. The matrix might be different from what we had in 2022, where it will have made sense to have a guy from Mount Kenya just to give the people of Mount Kenya that assurance that the interests are well catered for. The moment President Ruto impeached Rigathi Gachagua, he lost all the faith and trust that he had with the Mount Kenya people. So you cannot entice them by again giving them a running mate from Mount Kenya. So whether or not Ruto retains Kithure Kindiki as his running mate is neither nor there. The vote is gone. So it will make better sense for Ruto to try his luck elsewhere. As for Mount Kenya, it is gone. It is completely gone. Ruto will get very few votes from Mount Kenya. I doubt whether he'll get more than 10% of the votes from Mount Kenya. So as a Kenyan who means well for my president, I will advise him to use that carrot again for another region, let's say Nyanza, where he seems to be maybe making inroads. Mount Kenya is gone. People have moved on. Whether he get, even if you were to pick Rigathi Gachagua today as his running mate, wataanguka pamoja. So it's a done deal. So I don't think there is any value in retaining Kithure Kindiki as his running mate. It will be a lost cause.
Wakili, do you think that it is possible to clinch the presidency without Mount Kenya?
Muliambiwa na Moses Kuria, if his words are anything to go by. Tuliiba 2013, tukaiba 2017, tukaiba 2022, nini nafanya mufikirie tutaiba 2027? I think the presidency and on the confidence of the two-term movement ilikuwa in the ability to use state mercenaries to influence the outcome of the election. Lakini hata ndio uibe kura, kunafaa kukuwa na kaukweli fulani, like you don't curate numbers if it's not nearer to the truth.
You can't steal from zero.
Yes, you can't steal from zero. So hiyo itakuwa long shot sana. Plus wale watu wenye wangekuwa na say, wenye wanaweza msolidify numbers, like there's a time people are speculating somebody like Ndindi Nyoro deputizing Ruto. People like even Waiguru here, she's flaunting herself as one of the potential vice presidents. Hawana numbers. The ground is against them. Sasa hizi kukuja kusema wewe ni watuta Mount Kenya, it's very risky even for your own life.
Waiguru hana numbers. Kama nimesikia vitu zangu.
Mimi Waiguru hana numbers. Her influence does not stretch beyond Kirinyaga County, and even within Kirinyaga County, people have already departed from her camp. So she's a good mobilizer. Here she can use her own money to bring people to a meeting,
but not people to vote.
But I don't think she would be able to mobilize people